What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we know that Hideo Kojima is currently working on two different games, one being Death Stranding 2 and the other being a project with Microsoft. Well, it turns out Kojima had pitched this idea to many other companies, and a lot of them came back saying he was absolutely mad for suggesting such a thing. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about several different sales across all different gaming platforms that have arrived just in time for the holidays, and we'll also be going over a pretty funny situation that shows the Pokemon Company taking on an NFT project, and you can probably figure how that one turned out. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Square Enix and Chocobo GP. This was a game that was released less than a year ago, and the odd thing about it that really caught me off guard is they went in this live service direction for a game that you figure as a regular release would sell well on a platform that's sold an obscene amount of copies for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but Square Enix, they're gonna Square Enix, and now it looks like they're reverting this back and ending post-launch support, it more or less becoming a regular release now. We can see this posted up over on Square's website, where they say, notice regarding future seasons and Mithril, Season 5 will be the last season where prize pass levels are used in the Chocobo GP mode. Operating policies for after Season 5 ends are detailed below, going over that large-scale updates will finish up here. There won't be any more of those, and they will be shutting down purchases for the cash shop that they have on January 6th. And it just kind of shows how unsure or even experimental Square has been with these live service titles. At least in this case, you could still play the game after the post-launch support ends. Babylon's Fall is just gone. Like, it's just, that's it for that game, and because it was so reliant on an internet connection. So in some ways, Square Enix at least still has this game available, but in the others, it didn't launch, I would say, with the best look as being a live service game, when I think a lot of people just want it to be a standard kart racing game that released, similar to what we've seen with games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, just with Final Fantasy characters. Also, one of the big hits of 2022 was certainly TMNT Shredder's Revenge, and it's actually getting a pretty big update with one feature that I think is a lot of fun, because this is a game that clearly is hitting the nostalgia bone, but we can see these patch notes here. I saw these posted up over on Nintendo Life. The update is now live. They did actually quite a bit to fix balancing, some glitches and bugs that were reported. But they did add some really cool filters like CRT. They have normal or even curved, right, to kind of mimic the idea of the front of a CRT TV as opposed to a flat screen there. And also, they have VCR, which, again, a lot of nostalgia here. But I really like the custom game arcade mode. It will disable achievements, progress, and unlocking, because you're going to be messing around and manipulating the game. They have it set up in this really cool looking dip switch graphics. So with arcades, you have to go in and actually change a switch in it so that it would do things like free play. They have old school super attacks, faster enemies, no more taunts, and more. And you know what? This is a game I think is perfect for the holidays. If you have friends or family you haven't seen in a while, or you guys just kind of hanging out, this would be a lot of fun to get a bunch of controllers together and go through a couple of missions. They're like 6 or 7 minutes or so to get through one. And let's face it, it's a series or a game type that's pretty straightforward, and most people can pick up a controller and at least understand what's happening. So that's my recommendation. Play some Shredder's Revenge with the family. I think you have a blast. Oh, and we did have one update to look forward to for God of War Ragnarok that was announced over on Twitter, which we can see. This from Sony Santa Monica Studio, saying, we know many of you have been asking, so we're happy to confirm that New Game Plus will be coming to God of War Ragnarok in spring 2023. I'm curious if they have any other plans for more content for the game, whether it's armor or just more story or just expansions for it. I think they've mentioned they won't really be doing that, but you never know. It has sold really, really well. It's good that New Game Plus is eventually showing up. It's just odd that this is a very common update now for many games across the industry, as New Game Plus seems like something you want to have there to go right back through after you beat it for the first time, as opposed to waiting months to jump back into the game. Although that might be a good refresher, because when I step away from games, I kind of forget at times how to play parts of it, or at least the more nuanced parts with dodging and timing and stuff. So I guess going back through New Game Plus all powered up is a good way to get back into the swing of things. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Hideo Kojima and an interview that he had with IGN. Now, in this talk, he went over a lot of his thoughts around really the world currently, how he dealt with the studio and everything with the pandemic, and how it sort of changed his view around things like Death Stranding and what he wanted to do for the follow-up, as he had to rewrite the entire game itself and the narrative. But he also talked about the current landscape when it comes to game consoles, like dedicated systems, and kind of thinking they may go away in the future. We hear about that a lot, right? But in his mind, everything will just sort of be shareable between our phones, tablets, and PCs. I think that's more or less thinking 30, even 40 years into the future, and who knows what things are gonna be like then. But he also did comment on the "should we have connected" phrase that we heard in Death Stranding 2. He kind of like referred to how we're so connected with social media and our phones are attached to our hips, and if kind of almost thinking, is that actually a good thing for us? So maybe that's sort of what Death Stranding 2 will be sort of exploring here, the post-pandemic world and how it's become more digital than ever now. But he also talked about his Xbox project and how it is relying on cloud computing, and how he talked to a couple of different companies and their thoughts on his pitch, which we can see this posted up on IGN with his response saying, "I tend to get easily bored. Part of why I've been able to make games for 30 years is because new technology replaces the old so quickly. The tech you use today may not be applicable tomorrow, and I'm interested in figuring out ways to incorporate the new. Making the wrong choice can result in failure, of course. It's a bit like a space program in that way. The project we're working on with Microsoft is one I have been thinking about for 5 or 6 years already. The project required infrastructure that was never needed before, so I discussed it with lots of different big companies and gave presentations. But they really seemed to think that I was mad. It was ultimately Microsoft who showed that they understood, and now we're working together on the project, including the technology front." So I want us to think very quickly about some of the companies he would have gone to with this pitch that would have said that he was mad, coming back with the ideas that he was presenting there at the table. One that's been rumored, and it seems like most people accept that this was a thing, is that Kojima was going to make this game for Google Stadia. Now, we know Google had a bit of an about face after seeing the performance of Cyberpunk, apparently, and they decided to just get rid of their first-party studios, and now Stadia is just gone, right? So Kojima had to find, I guess, another company to work with that had access to that kind of infrastructure. Amazon, probably another one, and then Microsoft. I mean, really, there's only so many he could go to that would have access to the servers and the computing power. I don't doubt that Amazon probably looked at him a bit sideways when he started talking about his grand vision for this game that would need that kind of computing power. But then going to Microsoft, I mean, Microsoft definitely wanted Kojima because of a few things. One, the variety, and then, think about it, Kojima mentions he's working on them with his technology. This could be a very compelling way for Microsoft to show exactly what their cloud computing front could be used for, outside of a lot of the Office aspects that they leverage it for. No, this would be a very creative take, and now I'm trying to think of what exactly Kojima showed them at the negotiation table that had them essentially go, "Look, you're crazy, I'm out." All right, so I'm thinking could have to do with just overall real-time data that's happening in our actual lives. Is that something that Kojima could be tapping into here? I mean, the big thing right now is Overdose is at least the code name for it. It looked like a horror game, so ooh, that could be something. You have Kojima making a horror game that's tapping into cloud computing that has access to real-time stats and data from all across the world, and probably knows quite a bit about us, and ooh, could get dangerous. We'll see exactly what Kojima has planned. There have been talks that he may want to even try to at least give us an idea as to what this is sometime in 2023, but I believe this is going to be something we won't see actually released for another 3 or 4 years. But hey, looking forward to at least hearing what crazy idea Kojima came up with this time that could potentially tie into our real life. Next up, let's talk about a bunch of sales that are currently live. I'm gonna go across all the different platforms because this is the last news wave before holidays with Christmas and all this. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of new systems that are being opened and turned on for the first time. And these are all games because they are digital storefronts that will be accessible immediately on Christmas Day. Let's take a look here. We're going to start with the Switch. This is over on the sales and deals page. We have the Warner Bros. Games holiday sale. That will be running until the day after Christmas. They have Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. That's half off at $30. A whole bunch of Lego games here, by the way, which are awesome pickups, especially to do cooperative play with. We have the Untold Tales, the winter sale. That's the indie celebration that's going on right now. We also have the Square Enix winter sale, which is another good one because there's a lot of Final Fantasy in here. You also have the Diofield Chronicle, which is still pretty recent. That one there at $30. We have the Bandai Namco holiday sale. Of course, a lot of Dragon Ball, One Piece, God Eater. We have the Ubisoft holiday sale. I did notice that Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, that being 25% off. Definitely a good pickup there. Or if you just want to go with some of the collections, you have the Assassin's Creed Anniversary Edition Mega Bundle. That is 55% off, coming in at $45. And of course, the Capcom holiday sale with Monster Hunter Rise plus Sunbreak. That's 42% off at $40, or you can just buy Resident Evil 4 for like the 20th time at $10. Jumping over to the PlayStation Store, we have the holiday sale that is currently live with Elden Ring, that coming in at 30% off. Easy recommendation there. The Last of Us Part 1, if you were curious about it, but you were turned off by that $70 price, it's currently 29% off, just coming in under $50. Or Last of Us Part 2 there at $10. Grand Theft Auto 5, sure, that at $15. Spider-Man Miles Morales, though, awesome pickup at $20. And Gotham Knights, wow, that one's already 50% off at $35. For Microsoft, the Countdown sale is live, once again with Elden Ring there at $42. You do have NBA 2K23, that one at $24. Saints Row, already 50% off of that one at $30. You have the Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga Galactic Edition there at $40. I did enjoy Dying Light 2, and that is half off right now at $30. We also have Resident Evil Village down to $20, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection, absolute steal of a pickup with how much content is there at $30. And I'm not forgetting about the PC gamers or new Steam Deck owners, as over on Steam, the winter sale is now live. That will be running until January 5th. And if you've never experienced a Steam sale before, get ready, because everything gets marked down pretty well. There are thousands of games generally that go on sale. God of War is down to $30, which is a really good port. Metro Exodus, $7.49. Vampire Survivors, sure, it's $4. I mean, it's an extremely good game for that price at $4. Very addictive. Gotham Knights is also 50% off on Steam at $30. Tales of Arise, $23.99. Back for Blood, down to $17.99. The Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, that one's down to $35. And hey, maybe you got a nice new VR headset that's not the Valve Index. Half-Life Alyx is marked down to $23.99. But overall, a ton of games that are currently marked down, so go ahead and take a look through all the different sales, and of course, leave some suggestions down below in the comments. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo's indie event that is still ongoing. This is day 3. I'm hoping that today Sports Story gets announced. They're kind of running out of time, but let's take a look at what games were announced yesterday. We can see this over on Nintendo Life. Once again, they've been updating this page as we've gone along. It is linked down below in the sources. We have Melatonin, that is out now. It's a rhythm game, but I'll admit, I'm not a big rhythm game fan. This one did kind of look interesting because they were jumping around and changing the settings and stuff, and it was kind of a fun title there, but it is already out. After Image, that's out April 25th, 2023, is a pretty cool looking roguelike 2D adventure action game. We have Smile for Me. This game looked very weird, but it's out spring 2023. Had like the characters models were 2D, but it's like a 3D plane for it. Definitely a bit of we'll say a creative game. How about that? Hyper Gun Sport. They describe this as cyberpunk volleyball with guns. It's an arcade style game, and you can kind of see the aesthetic there leaning into maybe like a Windjammer's take, but the controls looked, I don't know if it was clunky or not. I haven't played it, so it looked a little odd in terms of the way you're aiming and you have like the arrow coming out of your character. I don't know if it looked a little stiff just from how they were playing, but might be one to check out there if you like the idea of playing volleyball with guns. Definitely some creative stuff for day 3, and I guess we'll see later on today what they have to cap off the entire event. As I said, definitely cross my fingers for Sports Story. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Pokemon Company taking on an NFT project, the studio, and the company behind it. And you might be wondering, okay, how much are they skating the line here? Like the company that's doing this NFT project. Surely they didn't just use Pokemon imagery on their website and name the whole thing after different Pokemon that they didn't actually own. Well, let's take a look at their website because that's actually exactly what they did here. This is for Kojima. I believe that's the studio behind it, and then they have an entire company behind that, and they have that filed as Pokemon Pty Limited. It's an Australian company. They set up the entire website advertising this Pokeworld game that they have a slide here that Vooks.net had the entire report on. It's the leading pay-to-earn game on Ethereum, and they label it as a meta-universe game. They advertise that they have worked on a couple of different Pokemon games and even Pokemon Sleep that I don't even think that is real at all, but who knows, maybe Pokemon Pty can tell us about Pokemon Sleep. And the funniest part about this, I mean, obviously, like, you look at this, even a Pikachu with some oddly long arms here, but I mean, come on, it is so cut and dry that this is a slam dunk for the Pokemon Company to take them to court and get this shut down immediately. Well, they did that pretty quickly. In fact, it was noticed by Vooks.net that the first application to the court was done on December 19th, and the first hearing happened on December 21st. The Pokemon Company showed up, and no one from Kojima Studios did. I wonder why. Now, the best part about this entire studio is the way that the Pokemon Company heard about this entire thing that was happening. Apparently, Pokemon Pty or Kojima started reaching out to websites with press releases, trying to get some excitement behind their Pokeworld NFTs that look very similar to the Pokemon. And obviously, these press releases showing up in a website's inbox, they're gonna look at that and go, wait, the Pokemon Company's doing NFTs? Let's do a follow-up here. And then most likely, after sending them an email, well, they very quick a visit from the lawyers of the Pokemon Company, because one thing they probably don't want to be associated with would be NFTs. Maybe way into the future, they would look into this someday, but right now, the fact that digital collectibles could easily be related to cards and different things that are going on, especially with the Pokemon Company maybe pushing for this online Pokemon card game, yeah, it can get a little close to home there and maybe blur the lines where people would believe that this is a legitimate thing. And it seems now it was a pretty open and closed case of them not even showing up to court. But trust me, the Pokemon Company, they don't mess around. I've told you guys, there are a couple companies you don't mess around because you'll find out. And in this case, they're probably going to pursue this for a long time. It is worth the money to them to make an example out of this because as we've seen in the NFT space, copyright barely exists, if at all. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this into the future as more and more court filings are done, and we'll see exactly how hard the Pokemon Company decides to hit Pokemon Pty Limited. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, do you drink eggnog during the holidays? 70% say no, 30% say yes. You know what? That's about right, I feel. I do enjoy eggnog quite a bit during the holidays. I used to drink it much more years ago. Now I have like a glass of eggnog during Christmas with the family and all this. But I have noticed, it's like me and one or two other people at the family gatherings that will actually drink the stuff. So seeing this, 7 out of 10 say no, but 3 out of 10 say they do drink eggnog. actually sounds about right. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Gamer Guy saying, don't forget the original Majora's Mask was rated E. That gave me nightmares as a kid just from that mask transformation cutscene, so maybe it still will be darker. You know, it's a little surprising. Maybe it's because of the visuals for the 64. Obviously, they were much more rudimentary for 3D, whereas now it would be much more detailed and probably would look a bit more gruesome, I guess, with the transformations. Those were pretty scary, you're right, especially for younger kids. But just the themes around Majora's Mask were probably lost on a lot of like 10-year-olds, or now you look at it, it's like, whoa, that is a dark, dark game. But also, I was thinking about Ocarina of Time, and when I played that, like when it first came out, I was younger, and I just remember the final boss, Link like slashes Ganon up a bunch and then stabs Ganon directly in the head, and there's this pause where his sword is just in his skull. That was pretty violent too, now that I'm thinking about it. So they did get away with quite a bit back then with the E rating, but I think E10, look, it's still gonna be a fun game. I'm sure it's gonna be a very impressive game, but just, I don't know, maybe people aren't getting exploded into a bunch of doom gore chunks. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Whether it's Hideo Kojima, what do you think he's planning exactly? It had some of these companies saying he was absolutely mad for attempting it with the power of the cloud. Then also all these different game sales, leave some suggestions down below, especially for people who just got maybe a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Switch or a Steam Deck. And then what we saw here with the Pokemon Company taking on Pokemon PLY Limited. Thanks guys for watching. Have a great holiday weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.